We'll go to Jeff Ferrato from the Cal Sports Report for the first question.
Peter, how are you doing today?
Good afternoon, Jeff. Good to see you.
Thank you. So a lot of changes on your side of the ball. Can you give us a sense of what you want to see on Saturday, what improvements you're hoping will take place with all the changes you've made?
Yeah, I guess big picture, Jeff, it's the things that are what we consider like prerequisites. It's the toughness and the effort. I like to see a group of 11 guys playing with just tremendous effort, as physical as they physically can. And then on top of that, we need to see the execution. And I think that's where we need to take a tremendous stride. In the offseason, we've talked about it on defense and with our guys, we're calling it an action gap. Okay, and that's the space between knowing and doing. And we need to shrink that space because I think the guys know what to do, but in critical situations or in times that we're not quite doing that, we've tried to identify, what's preventing us from understanding what we do and then executing it in crucial moments.
You haven't seen them play against somebody else yet. Are you eager to see what it looks like when you're not playing against your own guys?
We are. There was some DBs actually talking today during stretch, just talking about the excitement of, hey, this weekend we're not playing against our offense in a scrimmage, but we're getting some new faces and get an opportunity to go out there and compete as a group for the first time.
Thank you.
All right, we'll go to Steve Croner from the SF Chronicle.
Morning, Peter.
Morning, Steve. How are you?
I'm doing okay, thanks. Hope you're doing well as well.
Thank you.
I saw the Golden Era video that you guys put out, and you were in it. And kind of following up on what you just mentioned to Jeff, you said something, if I'm paraphrasing, but not by much, the defense isn't necessarily what type of defense we employ, whether it's 4-3 or 3-4 or 4-4 or whatever. It's really the makeup and the character of the 11 to 22 guys who form that defense. Obviously, you don't know that now as well as you'll know it at the end of November. But what do you think it's going to be off of camp?
I think we have a group of tremendously prideful guys. I think they're going to play with really great effort. I think we're going to be proud of the effort in which they play. And we've talked about, linebacker room, I'll say sometimes it's not the pressure, it's the people. And I think that's ultimately what you always want to fall back to is guys having really extreme ownership of their 1/11th, of what they can bring. And guys that have the ability to impact others are the guys that end up being the leaders and guys being that really set the tempo for the group as we practice, as we take the field, as we take really our identity going into the season. But you're exactly right. It's what's that collection of people? And, until I actually see it, I think that's what it's going to look like. But until you see it in the fire, those guys are really holding the proverbial pen on how they want to write their story.
All right, Jim McGill from Bear Insider.
Hey, Peter. Obviously, the transfer portal and JC transfers have impacted the defense over the last few years. But this year in particular, it seems coming into fall camp that a lot of portal guys and JC guys are poised to make a big impact on the defense. How have you tangibly seen those guys make an impact? And who are some of those guys that are going to be playing a real big role on your defense this year that are new to the team?
The guys that are coming through via transfer portal in junior college now, I think all of them are bringing improved maturity into college programs. I think, 10 years ago, if somebody transferred, there might have been some context to maybe why they transferred. The junior college, I think sometimes the preparation at that level wasn't quite what it has been. But I think all levels of coaching, people are doing a better job of at least understanding, kind of the basics and carrying some capacity of defense. So I think those guys are coming in a little more prepared. But the guys that are coming in right now, I think we're excited about rolling through about 6 guys up front in the interior defensive line. TJ Bowlers will be rolling through with Nate Burrell. Derek Wilkins will be in there as well. Aiden Kiana Ina, I think, has had a phenomenal camp. I think he's going to be a guy that really can help us inside along with Ricky and Stanley. And then Czech Fall. I think he's brought a physicality to the outside backer room, also with Serene. So with David, Ryan McCullough, Xavier, Sheck, and Serene, I think those 12 guys will be, have the opportunity to roll through in the front. And then the back end, Ryan Yates has joined us. Marcus Harris is, going to be playing with us for the first time. Jair Smith, Isaiah Crosby, Cam Sidney's been with us, but, he's going to have a larger role. And Matt Littlejohn's back, and Josiah Wagner is another guy that has shown a lot in practice. And I'm excited to see what he can do, in live situations.
Obviously Teddy too. And are those guys bringing sort of an edge to the defense and a level of talent that really upgrades your defense?
Teddy's been a great addition, but yes, a lot of those transfer portal guys, they have brought a definite upgrade to the overall talent level on our side of the ball. They've pushed their rooms respectively, and the guys that are in those rotations, they've come from really good programs. They've been raised what I would consider the right way in terms of the defensive spirit and kind of the defensive mentality of football. And then they've showed a lot of maturity as they've acclimated to the way we do things, particularly here.
Thank you.
All right, go to Thomas Dunn from Riker, California.
Good morning, Peter. On the flip side of that, quite a few presumed starters are returning from last year and into this year. What are you seeing from those returning players that maybe you didn't see last year that has you most intrigued for how they're going to execute this upcoming year?
You hit it right in the head. Execute. It's about execution, and goes back to the comment earlier about the action gap, the space between knowing and doing. And the guys that have been here, we need to continue to shrink that gap, and we need to continue to stress improvement of the execution, never taking away from the toughness and effort, but having those three things really kind of working in unison, of the toughness, of the effort, and the execution on every single play to the best that we can. I know football, I say it, but football is a game of errors, and things are not ever as perfect as you want, but we have to try to get to that spot that we're not making any self-inflicted wounds or dying by 1,000 cuts.
Thank you.
All right, we'll go back to Jeff Rado.
Peter, can you talk about what you expect from the UC Davis offense? They obviously, their coach, obviously, but they got a running back, Lon Larison, who's the Big Sky preseason player of the year. Got a quarterback. I think he started every year. He's thrown a bunch of touchdown passes. What do you see when you watch them, and what do you expect from them?
First of all, I know Coach Plow is going to do a phenomenal job getting them prepared. He's a great play caller. He does a fantastic job of game planning. You go back in years that we've played Davis, I think Tim did a fantastic job of formations, of route concepts, of mixing in tempo. So I'm got a ton of respect for what he is going to bring to their offense, his kind of personality, his style of play. So we're prepared for everything. He has a significant understanding of what we do on defense, having been here. And, Coach Plow and I talked quite a bit, offense and defense. So maybe I talked probably too much, knowing that we might be playing him in the future. But he's going to have a great team. And the running back, I think, is fantastic. In the linebacker room, we watched his highlights of some of his plays, his contact balance, his ability to get vertical, to run through tackles. He's a very, very impressive player. And he is definitely somebody that we know is going to be a significant challenge. And the quarterback, anytime you have a quarterback with experience and touchdown throws and knowledge of the game, that's also another weapon that he'll have on display.
If I could ask you a follow-up, you mentioned briefly Teddy Buchanan, who obviously comes from there. What has he shown you so far since he's gotten to campus that you confirms that he's the guy you wanted him to be?
Teddy's continued to be very mature. He's done a great job of learning the system. He's been exceptional in the meeting room, asking the right questions. UC Davis really give him nothing but props, and they did a fantastic job of raising a football player. His maturity, his attention to detail, all the things that that I consider learned behavior from a program, he's exemplified them. So to what UC Davis did to develop him, hats off to them.
Thanks,
We'll go
Peter.
to Steve Croner.
Yeah, Peter, kind of a big picture question. Your defense was among the best in the conference, certainly for the first few years, and took a dip the last couple of years. How much of that was performance related to yourselves, and how much of that was going against Caleb Williams and Bo Nix and Michael Penix and that group?
I think it's probably twofold, Steve. I kind of took a pretty significant dive into some of the statistics of defense really in our conference last year. And with the proliferation of the offensive side of the ball, statistically, there wasn't a lot of good defensive football played in the Pac-12. I think if I remember correctly, I think 4 of the top 5 pass defenses in America all came from the same conference. So I think some of those, without like opponents, I think it's extremely hard to go statistical, stat for stat. So the NFL, they share some more opponents. Obviously, you're within conference, or you're within, your FCS, FBS, or all those different levels. But I think there's so much context in college football. But I do know for sure that the offenses from our first couple of years here to what they have been the last couple of years, and then you pop on the NFL preseason, and those same guys that we were struggling to stop, the other guys are struggling to stop as well. So it doesn't make you feel any better, but there's been a proliferation of really, really talented quarterbacks, all via portal, which, we didn't have that influx, early in in Justin's tenure here. All the kids were homegrown. They weren't matriculating in from other areas. And I think what they've done is the schools have done a great job of surrounding those players with really good talent, attracting those players. And it's made it extremely more challenging to play good defense than it was in the first couple of years in the conference.
Thank you, sir.
We'll go back to Jim McGill.
Hey, Peter, you've had a solid number of years now with the program as defensive coordinator. How does this year feel different on your side of the ball?
Well, the biggest difference, I think it's really just the influx of new people that aren't necessarily through the traditional high school recruiting. And then the unknown of the ACC, not unknown from, you don't know who your opponents are, but, in the Pac-12, there was so much history, so much almost cross-pollination of staffs that everybody kind of had an idea of what the game was going to look like, because there was so much carryover and there was so much, the same guys kind of just bouncing around or even doing the same thing within the schools. So now that's completely busted wide open, that the familiarity, the knowns, and even within the recruiting parts, we recruited basically all the same kids too. So you had an idea of, what their particular skill level was, what they were in high school. So there was much more history, a rich history of knowledge of the staffs and of the rosters that we're not feeling right now, that we'll kind of have to relearn the rosters and relearn some of the, some of the flavors and some of the, particular aspects of the offense and defensive coordinators.
And I think this is probably the most vocal defense I've seen in fall camp. Is that helping bring an edge to your side of the ball, do you think?
I don't know. It's, talking in practice doesn't necessarily mean you're going to be better in games. I think sometimes the talking is a reflection of some of the personalities that you have. But, if talking in practice made for good football, I'd have been yelling the whole time.
Thanks.
All right, and we'll take the last question from Cody Henderson from League Winners.
Hey, Coach. Quarterback Marcus Harris has a ton of experience in his career so far. But besides his experience, what else does he bring to the secondary?
Well, he gives us the opportunity, for he and Noel. I think they both possess really good man-to-man skills. Marcus, I think it runs extremely well. He's got some ball skills. He can track a ball in the air. And he's been, the experience and, top that with his movement ability. and his consistency and what he's been in spring and in summer camp. That's what I've been most pleased about. You get concerned if corners don't have a level of consistency, because that's where inconsistent players just get really, really exposed in that particular position. So I've been very pleased with he and Noel, the level of consistency and the maturity they brought to practice every day. So we're excited to see those guys go.